I have been part of I started my career in supply chain. I graduated from industrial engineering many years ago. We don't have to get into the details. Um, and I feel like supply chain chose me because I started in supply chain as an intern in a material planning department. My
Mhm,
job was literally to print out Kanban cards and put it on the beams in the production line.
mhm.
And I haven't stopped supply chain since then. It's been many different companies, and I'm just passionate about finding where the money leaks and the improvements that can be done. I have so much to say about supply chain. It's the backbone of operations and any company.
Definitely. I'm so glad to know that. And the fact that supply chain has been such a blessing to you, starting from intern to being so successful, I feel it's amazing. And for our audience to know, you have had a career of more than 17 years across different sectors of aerospace, telecom, and manufacturing. That's a lot of experimenting and learning experience, I must say. So, what exactly has been your philosophy when you transitioned from these many different sectors?
It's My philosophy is always go. I call it the easy way. I
Mm-hmm.
go and I diagnose. I see where the company's at. Then I designed the solution for that company depending on what is exactly that we need to accomplish. Normally in manufacturing, you want things to be done faster, less costly. In distribution, you want products to go to the right customer at the right time. You want to make sure that you have the right inventory. So depending on what the company's needs are, then I build a design a solution, and then I start building from there. That goes from process documentation. My team works on developing data solutions also with whatever the company already has built as an infrastructure. Then we work, okay, what are the KPIs that we have to follow up? So we give clarity and visibility to everybody across the organization to understand, are we going in the right direction? Where do we have to adjust, et cetera, et cetera. So it's basically, I go by the easy way is you go in, you diagnose, you do your root cause analysis of everything that's going on. Then you
Mhm.
design what's going to be the solution for that, and then you start building from there.
Wow, that definitely sounds interesting. And just like your name, it provides a sense of clarity by the way it actually moves ahead. So you are actually turning complexity into clarity. So talking about the easy way, please share an experience with us how this amazing method of yours helped you solve a challenging issue in the company.
It helps me. It has helped me. It's incredible because I think back um, when I first started planning materials for an
Mhm.
electric components company. That was my first job back in 2008. Um, and I had the chance to say, okay, we were having a lot of shortages
Mhm.
because whatever reason we were having a lot of shortages in the manufacturing line. It was one of our star products. The hero product of the company was the money maker, the high volume, etc. So I had to understand, okay, what's going on here that we cannot keep up. What do I have to change in my planning to make sure that we have we are delivering to the customer? When I drill down into what's causing the shortages, I realized there was a component specifically that is an accessory that we it will be attached to the actual finished good, and we ended up investing in a little bit of inventory just to keep those accessories in house that we didn't have any chance to miss a deadline for the customer. And after that, our on time delivery to the customer went from low 40% to above 90 in a couple of months. So that's it.
Wow.
Those are the type of things that this framework that I use allows
Yeah.
me to discover. And that was back in 2008. I did the same thing last year at the current company I work at with
Yeah.
some on time delivery that we were reviewing. Okay, what exactly is going on? Let me understand the data. I'm very data driven. The data speaks volumes, inventory on hand, how it behaves, the on-time delivery, how we're delivering to our customers. All of that gives me enough information to understand and diagnose. It's kind of like a supply chain doctor, right? Like where
Yeah,
does it hurt? Then depending
diagonal.
on where it hurts, this is what we have to do.
We're going to find a fix. Yes, and that sounds like an amazing method. Like, just like the doctor understands you first, like what exactly is bothering you on like personal basis, then they diagnose, and then they're like, oh, okay, that's where the whole mess up lies. Now we give you the exact need, so you can feel relieved and happy about it. And you
And
are the supply chain doctor. You should start using the tag more.
and if you think about it, doctors ask you 100 questions, and you're like, okay, but I came for a shoulder pain. Why are you asking me how much exercise am I doing or what am I eating? Why? Because you need to understand the whole, right? You need to diagnose based on all of the information that most of the information that you can have, and then that gives makes a complex pain point. You can make it clear for everybody to understand.
Definitely. And you beautifully explained it how it's not just about that one particular aspect that we need to be focusing on. You need to know the whole story to reach the long-term successful solution for your actual problem that the company faces. And that clarity that you just delivered to us is going to help us freshies who still need to enter the sector and understand how to function further. So thank you, doctor. We are going to take that advice. Think the amazing way that you explained it also tells us what an amazing speaker and mentor that you are. And I'm sure I would love to flaunt that my guest is a TEDx speaker. So, what inspired you to just take up that initiative and step into the thoughtful leadership aspect and deliver such amazing speeches?
I have been a leader, a people leader for over a decade now. Um, I care a lot about my people, and they are the first pain point to address. If the team
True.
is not happy, then nothing moves. I had a student actually last year, which was the co-organizer of the TEDx event, and he called me and told me, "Easy, I'm organizing a TEDx event. I want you to apply because I want you to come and talk about career development for the students at the university." The event was organized, and that my I started to say yes to a lot of things like this, for example, not questioning, oh, what do I have to do? How much time do I have to spend? So I said yes, and then it just went from there. It was actually my first public speaking event ever, because I I normally speak a lot at in a business setting, right? At the companies I've
Mhm.
worked, I always am doing presentations, PowerPoints, talking to other people, other leaders, etc. But it was my first public event, wearing a mic and everything. It was a really
Wow.
amazing experience, honestly.
Definitely imagine. And to be honest, you do have that skill set where you are able to convince and make people understand the concept in easier way. The way you explained the doctor concept to me just now, that's perfect example to understand how the supply chain is so important and how you need to know the whole thing and not just one thing if you're working in supply chain. And talking about people and systems, you are the biggest advocate of how people matter. So, how do you balance driving hard results with building a culture that lasts?
I have a secret, and I'll reveal it. You make your people happy, and everything is gonna go. It's everything is
Wow.
going to get done. I am very lucky to say that I've worked with amazing human beings throughout my career, and currently the team that I have, the only thing I can say about them is they're all very hard workers, and it's about that, where I care about them. I care about them in a personal way. I understand each one of their personal situations, and I make sure that they have the tools that they need to do their job. And after everything else is history, we've been able to accomplish a lot of things with not necessarily all of the manpower that you wish you would have in a company, because there's always, um, there's always limitations to where a company can go. But even with that, we've been able to accomplish a lot of things. And I do believe it's about that culture and building a connection and a relationship with people. Not only I tell them I don't they don't work for me, I work for them. It's
Oh,
whatever they need, I am here to remove the roadblocks
true.
from so they can do their job. That's how I keep
Wow.
the culture of driving results.
I believe you are the kind of boss, the mentor that each and every young person like us who are just starting off needs. And it is so, so important to have the correct guidance and support when you need to succeed. But talking about the points you just made, if I'm talking about myself, I'm going to be starting off as an intern or a fresher. How can I make that impact when it comes to having an influence on the people around me?
Start with curiosity. Try
Okay.
to learn as much as you can about the job, about the company, and about the people around you. You're going to be able to connect many dots when you ask questions. Ask questions, get curious. The best thing you can do right now is learn about your environment. Then you're going to adjust throughout the years, throughout your career. That's my recommendation to anybody is starting out. Stay curious, ask many questions, and don't be shy to invite somebody for a coffee, for example. If you see a leader, whoever it is in the organization that you're working at, and you feel inspired by them, the biggest compliment that you can give them is to ask them for advice and to ask them for mentorship. Just let yourself be guided. It's
Okay, so following it up with that, EC, can you please provide me mentorship and guidance?
of course I
I'm
love to
inspired by you.
I love to mentor. I have two mentees right now inside the organization, and outside I have a couple too. So you're totally welcome.
Yay, I'm so glad to know that. And talking about mentorship, it plays such a big, big role, especially in such young age of 20s when we are trying to figure out our industry, our sector, understand the people, of course, and get inspired by people. So, what do you think young professionals, especially women in the supply chain sector, need most from the mentors right now? Like what guidance is the most needed one?
What I'm finding, it's to build up that confidence. You are coming with knowledge from school. You have to be confident to apply it and to be okay making certain mistakes. Because when you try things, they don't work, you try again. When you try them again, you are you have a learning experience behind already. So I think young women, we need mentors that will guide us through a path of
Mhm.
learning. It's all you can aspire to, and make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. I wish for everybody to have such amazing managers and leaders as I've had throughout my career. They have allowed me to make decisions and make mistakes within the organization and learn from them. And that's the one thing that have allowed me to shape my framework to where it is today. Okay, I diagnose, then I design, then I build.
Wow, I definitely think that that's very inspiring to learn from, that your leaders give you the chance to experiment and see what works best for you. The EC system is definitely something that is born out of those different experiences, experimenting, mistakes, and accomplishments somewhere down the line. And you're talking about your experimenting aspects. You have worked for different sectors, and aerospace itself sounds like one of the sectors that I feel scared about because it needs a lot of precision, a lot of clarity, a lot of confidence in your decision making skills. So how was it? How was the experience, and what were the key lessons you took from that sector that you keep on applying in your future career?
I've been blessed to have the chance to work for aerospace in two different occasions. I worked for Bombardier in Montreal at the Finishing Center. So anything that had to do with the interior design and setup of the private jets, I was part of the team that worked on the planning team that worked on the material requirement for that. And then I also, a couple of years ago, I had the chance to work at Pratt& Whitney, which makes the engines for the actual airplanes.
Wow.
It is a scary. I can see where you're coming from saying that it's a scary because it's such a big thing. It's to me, airplanes are still magical, and it's still one of my favorite sectors actually, because there's a lot of complexity with it.
Mhm,
However, staying curious allowed me to at some point be comfortable
mhm,
at my job. It's not going to happen in the first 2 3 months, and that's something that you have to always be clear on. It's you're
mhm.
not going to feel 100% confident in the first job or
True.
the first couple of months at any job, but staying curious and asking questions and trying to understand, trying to do a diagnosis of what's going on, why are we doing this way, challenging the status quo, which is great. When you're coming new from the outside, you kind of have that, you kind of have that permission to
Mm,
challenge things because you don't know. And it's good because you get to ask questions and
yeah.
make people think, oh, why are we
Mhm.
still doing this way? Um,
True.
so I learned to do that a lot in those two, in that sector, in those two different companies. And about the mistakes, I would say one of them, I had the chance to implement a process
Mhm,
for, because when you're doing finishing products for custom finished
mhm,
goods, it's a lot of moving parts, and
mhm.
there's not necessarily a standard. And I
Okay.
believe when you don't have a standard, even if it's custom, you cannot improve processes because then people are just going to be doing things left and right, however they think they have to.
True.
And there were
Mhm,
a lot of mistakes that were being done at the beginning
mhm,
until one day I said, okay, no, we need to figure this out. Let me sit down with the
mm,
people that are actually doing the job and understand
mhm.
what do they need. And I was able to kind of prepare a standardized way for everybody to bring the right information to build a custom product. It was a
True.
standard, but it's kind of
Uh-huh.
it's a simple way to gather the information in advance and not having to be back and forward asking the same questions or clarifying questions. No, no, this is everything that is needed to build this part. Then you need to ask for color, you need to ask for size, you need to ask for material, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just
Mm.
to give you an idea of what
True.
making mistakes can lead you to improve.
True. Definitely. And talking about curiosity, like the way you described it, I definitely respect and understand that it is so important. But at the same time, a part of me feels that when, as a new person, as the person who's the one entering, when there's already a group of people working there, when you are the new one, and you ask too many questions, you might come off as, trying to be the boss's pet or trying to like become the favorite of the boss. Or I would also say, like, people might say that you're just dumb as well, like you ask too many questions. So how do we actually reach that point of balance where you don't come off as trying to be the pet as well as someone who's just not interested to get the job?
Let me ask you something.
Okay.
Why do we care about other people thinking we want to become the boss's pet, or we're dumb.
Hmm.
Why do we
True.
care? And
That
that's
is
something
that's
I
actually.
teach. I ask my
Uh-huh.
daughter all the time, like, why do you care what other people, what somebody else is thinking? You're staying curious because you want to learn, and that shows. And good leaders, good leadership are gonna see that. They're gonna see through all of that, and they're going to identify you as somebody that really wants to learn and wants to collaborate, because that's the fine line. You don't want to, because I understand where you're coming from, you don't want to be asking 100 questions and be annoying, right? You don't want
Yeah.
to sound like, oh, I'm not understanding. If you're looking to stay curious, to understand, not just asking questions to ask questions,
Yeah.
that's going to show. And at the end of the day, you're going to learn so much that it's going to get to a point where you're going to be able to be the one answering the questions.
Wow. Okay, that definitely helps with giving us the clarity that how we can actually pull that stunt off. And I definitely understand, and I'm gonna try it for sure. But my like the thing is, what stops me from understand like trying to implement it confidently, like the curiosity aspect, is the fact that at the same time, because you're the new one, you're trying to make friends, you're trying to like get into a good group of colleagues and like not come off as threat to your other people who might be at the same or a little higher level. So like my main concern comes there. Like yes, we why do we care about the people? But at the same time you work with those people. So how do you manage to not hurt their ego and keep on learning?
This is um it's really difficult to manage other people's feelings,
True, yes. Oh,
and
it's
it's
we
not your
can say
job.
here comes that. Yeah, it's the external factors which you can't control. So
I could
think
give
I
you a
got it.
whole therapy session on that, because it has been really hard for me as a people pleaser in recovery. It's been really hard for me to get to a point where I understand there's a fine line between I need to understand this information. I need to ask as many questions as I need to ask so I can get to a diagnosis and build a solution. If your ego is hurt because I'm asking many
Mhm.
questions, I cannot control that. I will be polite and I will ask the questions as polite as I can in a professional setting, but people's
Oh,
feelings are for people to manage.
true. And I think that actually can't control. Like, so I think the example, I just said it, like, if I don't ask questions, they're gonna think I'm just not interested or I'm just like too nonchalant about the whole thing. If I ask too much, they're gonna be like, oh, she's just too uh, like involved trying to become the pet. So I don't think I can control what they think, but I can control my journey, which is by asking questions, meaningful questions, not coming off as just questions, but something that might help me grow. So thank you. I did get the clarity that I was looking for. And talking about girls, especially in this sector. So from my personal experience, it is a male. What I've heard so much is it's a male-dominated sector. It is hard to succeed in this sector, and this sector is not that accepting yet of women, like the whole thing again comes down to male dominated sector. So how was the whole experience for you? What all challenges did you face coming traveling through the whole journey? And I would say also spoke to someone in aerospace. They also backed it that aerospace also is a male dominated sector with supply chain. So how is it? How has it been for you?
There is a lot of work that still can be done for women
Mhm.
to have their space and to have their voice heard, but it starts with us. Okay. And one thing that I've learned from my little sister, actually, she told me once, because I was complaining about the same thing, they don't listen, or I feel like I'm not being heard. It's a full, like normally, and I'm used to now, I'm used to it now. Normally, I'm in meetings where there's 10 people, there's 8 male figures, and then it's 2 women probably. And most of the time, it's
Yeah.
just me. And my little sister told me once, do not look at yourself as a
Mhm.
woman or as a male. You are a professional that was hired to do a job, and you're bringing your expertise and your skills to do the job. Forget about everything else. You're there and you're doing the job. That way, your voice, you're gonna be able to direct your voice and make
Mhm.
yourself heard. Forget about all that noise of being uh, surrounded by you're there, you were hired to do a job because you have certain skills and you have
Yeah.
an experience that is valuable to the
Expertise,
company.
yeah, true. If the company saw the potential in you, then who are the men out there just making you feel intimidated, maybe? And I think that's one of the best lessons that I have learned today. That because this is literally my fixed question to each and every guest of mine, that it is a male-dominated sector. How did you feel? And everyone has different experiences and different ways of dealing with it. And this is by far one of the best answers that I have gotten for the journey that I'm going to be a part of in the near future. And I think that even that perspective change, that from seeing yourself as a woman between so many men, the perspective change into being an individual fit for the job can give us even a voice. That's what we're trying to not be suppressed because we're just intimidated. But my job is totally different than my gender can make a lot of difference in the success that we might also experience in the longer run. So thank you for actually helping each and every young girl out there like me who is going to start off as a new freshie into the supply chain logistics center sector. And thank you for giving us the confidence that we needed. Talking about how awesome your leadership idea has been. If we can describe it in one sentence, what would it be?
I lead with my heart. I cannot
Oh,
remove that portion from who I am. I care about the people I work with. And that's, I, some might say, oh, you care too much. Some might say, you're it's all about the emotions. We're human beings at the end of the day, and I find that leading with the heart changes people's life. I have been able to be part of people's life and many changes and many situations they have gone through, and I'm just extremely proud that I've been there to support them. The companies
mhm.
get the results, and I get the satisfaction that people are not being burnt out because of how I lead them. That's
Definitely. Oh, that's actually like a personal win for you, as well as for the company, that they have such an amazing leader who ensures that the other employees, along with yourself, is not burnt out. Because that's one of the biggest issues that we are facing right now. Employees being overburdened, feeling they need to do more instead of performing their level best. So that feeling of burnt out not only comes at the university level, but more at the job level. So I'm glad your since your colleagues have someone like you who they can rely on when it comes to speaking to someone for burnt out or other aspects of their career, which might be draining. So I'm really, really happy that today we got to learn from such an amazing individual like you, who has not only been successful, but is so people centric that it makes such a big impact on the society. So thank you for joining me today and giving us such amazing lessons that are going to stay with all of us forever.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's really kind. Thank you.